Watch this. No way!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast. I am Tom Mills and today I am joined by a return guest, Sam Cooper.
Hello, Mills.
Hello. This is your fourth time on the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast,
yeah.
I believe.
That's right.
When you first came on the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast, Sam, you were first of all embarking on your trip.
No, it was actually before then. I came on with
evaluating.
Jasper. Yeah,
Evaluating first.
that's correct.
Talking about what evaluating does, which I still don't know, but what evaluating does.
Well, Jasper does a bit of everything, so he's just researcher, sells the prints that Joe and I do, and some other artwork and stuff, and a bit of everything really. But I think for the last couple of months, he's basically been playing more golf courses than
He's playing a lot of golf
than
now,
the famous
Jasper,
James Pearson. Even he's been everywhere.
Yeah.
And good for him because no one cares more about the minutiae of architecture, I think, than Jasper. He's
fallen back in love with the game,
amazing,
wasn't he? I think actually playing the game.
Incredibly knowledgeable guy.
He went through a period, Jasper, of just we spoke to him a couple of years back when we interviewed you guys about evaluating, and he was like, "Yeah, I just go to these clubs and walk around them." We were like,
Backwards.
Why do you play them? He's like, I just want to walk
see
it
the
to see it."
strategy.
I was like, you are absolutely outside your mind, pal. Just go play them. But you came on with evaluating, and you came on to talk about your trip.
Yes,
You did another one after that, and then now you're here.
Here I am.
Trip complete, and probably because of the trip, maybe you now have different titles. So I could call you Sam Cooper Traveller.
I have been called that for quite a while. Yeah.
Sam Cooper Architect.
Actually, I'm not Traveller anymore, so
No, now you're
that's the
now
one
you're in
title you
place.
can't call me anymore. I am man with fixed abode.
We're actually in your abode. It's very nice. I mean, up in Hoylake.
Yeah.
If I could see through walls, I could see the golf course from here, could I?
You could. It's about 500 yards that way.
Yep.
And the beach is about 400 yards that way. So we're between two things that we quite like. So it's okay.
And then we've got Sam Cooper Architect. That's
Apparently.
new.
That's newer, yeah.
Sam Cooper Podcaster.
Well, no, not. I don't think I could claim that one. I muddle along, but between the low audio quality and the infrequent posting of episodes, it's
It's a grind. It's the posting of episodes. How are you finding all that bit of it?
good. I mean, Christmas. So
Just for the people who don't know, you are the
So James Bledge, who is the links manager at Royal Liverpool Golf Club, where I'm lucky enough to play my golf. He and I do a podcast together. We call it Golf Badges. So it's basically for real course aficionados. So
for super nerds.
the super nerds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
so
is-
it's if you like greenkeeping or agronomy or architecture or whatever, those kind of things, we're keeping it narrow to that sort of field of focus, and it's really good fun because I've learned loads over the course of my tour going around everywhere because I'm just interested in that stuff. So I go and talk to people and we'll ask them questions, and when you I think when you find people who have a shared interest, then people do like talking about it because they don't have that many opportunities.
Yeah, there's not many people really want to talk about the sword, sword of a grass.
The sword composition, or the
That was a new one on me actually when Bledge came up with that. It's understanding the difference between meadow and fescue and.
Well, we were talking about it. I played golf over the weekend, and we were talking about it with some people were actually asking me about stuff, and they don't really care. Most golfers say, "Oh, how fast are the greens?" or that bit looks a bit bare over there or something, and people don't even care about whether they're firm or soft, and or how true they're rolling, or these. I'm a million miles away from a greenkeeper, but I am interested, and that's what the Badgers podcast allows us to do. So Bledge is so knowledgeable.
He loves that stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's a real nerd.
And we get to talk to people that we find interesting. And that's the idea. So we've got some really good people lined up, especially this year, because obviously with the Open at Hoylake, it means that quite a few people are passing through, so we get to chat to them along the way.
We're going to do your Eclectic 18 shortly, but I'm not done in quizzing you on what's going on with your life first. Architect a new thing since we spoke last?
Yeah, quite possibly. So I've been talking to the CDP guys for, I don't know, it must be a couple of years. I did a bit of drone survey work for them in 2020 and just got to know them more, and we have a shared philosophy. I've always loved, way before I started doing my tour, I've always loved strategic golf and the sorts of classic designs, and it's interesting growing up where I have, because I've grown up on a championship course, but it was a course that was always written about as probably the most strategic golf course in England. And it's interesting how those two things align in the modern game. So I've always had an innate interest in that anyway. And then, just reading everything I could read and developing that interest over the years, it all came to a head really. And then traveling on the tour and going everywhere, at least I can say I've seen everything links wise in this country at least. So it just evolved over time to the point where it was about a year ago. They said, would you be interested in doing this full time? And initially it was going to be part time, and then circumstances changed, and they were good enough to allow me to do it sort of full time, and I couldn't be happier. I've one of few people who can probably say they do something that they genuinely love every day. So I'm incredibly fortunate for that.
So what's your job title there? What do you do? What's a day to day for Sam Cooper?
Bit of everything. I guess associate architect, but I mean, really, I work a lot with Frank Pont. So Frank and I work closest out to the team, although that's not to say you don't talk to...
Is that more of a geographic thing?
Yeah, it's not to say I don't spend a lot of time talking to Clayton or Mike DeVries or anyone else in the team. It's just Frank generally covers Britain, and then Clayton comes over for the summers as well. So it's great to have two. In fact, we all are very similar in how we see holes and how we see architecture, but Frank and Clayton have two very different skill sets, really. Frank's incredibly technical, incredibly smart with routings and master planning and stuff like that. And Clayton is, well, I mean, you've had him on a good few times, haven't you?
Well, one fewer than we should have had.
Yes.
We had we did a podcast with Mike that we had a SIM card issue, which we're still trying desperately to rectify. But it was one of the few podcasts that, I'm ever going to do with Mike that we did in person. He sat down in the committee room at Blackwell, and it was a real shame. But
his internal library of golf courses and golf holes and experiences and everything else is absolutely
unlike any other.
Yeah, it's another.
What's it like working with him? Does he make you feel stupid because he's so clever? I imagine I wouldn't handle that very well, because I like being the smartest person in most rooms.
I think if I hadn't been on my tour, then I would have felt very out of my depth. But the good thing is I have been to so many places in this country recently, and I'm lucky enough to be able to remember most of them. So when we're going around in this country, I can say, this is like X, Y, Z, and he can say, yeah, or what about this? And we can have a proper conversation. If we were doing it anywhere else in the world, then I'd be completely forget, because he has that level of knowledge in America and obviously in Australia and New Zealand and all around the world.
Everywhere. So the tour, which I'm sure is going to come up heavily in this podcast, it grew arms and legs, I would say. How many courses... For those people that don't know and haven't listened to our previous podcast with Sam, Sam decided with his wife and two dogs that they were going to travel around Great Britain, not Northern Ireland, but Great Britain, and tackle every links course. How many did you start with?
I think when we set off, there were only 160 on the list.
And how did you compile that list?
Basically through lockdown. So, exact summary, Harriet and I used to develop residential property, just small stuff, but around where we are on the Wirral. And then when COVID came along, we were like, probably not a good idea to start taking things on when we don't know how the world's going to change. As it was, property market went crazy. Wish we'd stayed and bought loads. But we thought, well, look, ever since university, we met at university. Ever since then, we've sort of had our property business, and we've been growing it and working in it, and blah blah blah. We've never had so much as a couple of weeks off, let alone any period of time to go and do a bit of travelling. And travelling wasn't really on the menu in 2020, but we thought when lockdown ends, it would be a great opportunity to go around the UK a bit. So I spent a period in lockdown just basically researching, reading all of my old, True Links and books on links golf, and scouring the internet for lists of links courses that might have been missed from those publications, going around Google Maps and looking at some of the tiny courses on islands off the north coast of Scotland. And I basically put together this Google Maps monster, and at that time I think it was 160. It then grew to, I remember, 182, and in the end I ended up playing 225. And I think it's the Isle of Man as well as the Channel Islands, but certainly all of England, Wales, and Scotland as well.
And that was basically any course that had a links hole, at least one links hole, you think?
Yeah. So there are undoubtedly more courses by the sea than those I played. But if they were categorically on heavy soil or
which
whatever.
Obviously is going to lead me on to the question I need to ask. Can you now tell me, well, first of all, 225 links courses. Has anyone else done that, do you know?
I don't think so. Certainly not my list. I'm sure, I know of a couple of people who have played every golf course in Scotland, for example, and that is far more courses than I played, over twice the number that I played. But I don't think that anyone's played every links course.
Have you applied to Guinness Book of World Records?
No.
You 100% should.
Not going to apply. Imagine being in the Guinness World Records for playing
Why not?
golf courses.
If I'd done something no one else had done, I'd 100% put it in the Guinness Book of World Records.
I mean, it's just a list that I made up at the end of the...
And then you'd get like a Nims Purger can't try and beat you and do it in like 60 days or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what you need to...
No, I think I'm going to write my little book about it, and I'm looking forward to doing that. But I just like talking about the courses.
I'm going to apply for you. I'm going to put that in for you. So the question that on everybody's lips is, how do you define a links golf course?
I don't know. And what I mean by that is...
You just know. When you know, you know.
At the start of the tour, I could have trotted off a definition and be like, oh, yeah, it's the land that links the agricultural land to the sea. Or, there's an old English word, links, which is the sandy rise by the sea. And it's generally something to do with the sandy soil. Well, sandy soil are two terms at odds with one another, but the sandy grounds with undulations that everyone can see in their mind's eye, the rippling ground by the sea. And yeah, obviously that's what a links golf course is, but then there are so many that are on the peripheries that don't actually meet that definition, and so many that do probably meet that definition, but would you say they're links courses? Maybe not. So, like most things, it's on the boundaries and on the edges where it's actually most interesting. Like, is Royal St George's a links? Well, yeah, obviously. But is Spey Bay a links, which is an old Ben Sayers course up on the coast, the Murray coast between Inverness and Aberdeen? And yeah, it is a links course. It looks like a links course. It smells like a links course. It's by the sea. It's got rippling ground, but it's not on sand. It's actually on sorts of pebbles. But the pebbles have been shaped by the wind and by the sea to give the exact same topography as if it had been a sandy links course. And it's free draining. It has the same characteristics. It has the same turf. Is it a links course? Yeah. Is it on sandy ground? No. So, there's so many places like that. If you went down to southwest, there's Pennard. Is Pennard a links course in South Wales, just down the road from Royal Porthcawl? And it's a links course. It's sandy ground, but it's not really by the sea. It's on top of a cliff.
Quite a few of those in Wales. Like Southern Down is another example.
Southern Down's a great example. That's a bit further inland again. And then down in Cornwall, Perranporth. Perranporth is also on top of a cliff. But it's not a cliff-top course in the way that Thurleston is a cliff-top course. Norfolk's a really good example. You've got places like Sheringham and Cromer. Sheringham and Cromer are both cliff-top courses. Cromer is a proper cliff-top course in that it's sort of heavier soils and the land doesn't ripple. It's pretty parklandy. Yeah. It's a great course, but you wouldn't say it's a links course. Whereas Sheringham is this weird kind of, it's just the same. It's the same height above sea level. It's just a few miles down the coast, but actually you could make a case as it's linksy because it's sandy underneath and it's got a bit more give in the run of the land. So there's so many funky little places that are hard to categorise in a one line formal definition.
Well, everyone says Ganton is a links.
Well, if Ganton's a links, does that mean Aldborough's a links? How close to the sea do you have to be? And how close to the sea at any given point in time do you have to be? Because, everyone says that Ganton used to be a lot closer to the sea than it is now, but the reality is it's inland. If Ganton is a links, is Woodall Spa a links? Because Woodall Spa's on a vein of sand, but that's nowhere near the sea. So I think it's got to be a mix of three. It's got to be land this has been formed by the wind and the sea, and whether that's sandy or pebbles or whatever, as long as it's free draining, I think that's got to be a facet. Proximity to the sea has got to be up there as well. And then, the other thing that's interesting is how it plays and firmness and the type of grasses that are on it and the way the ball reacts when it lands. I think most people would say they are characteristics of any links course. However, things can be, dare I say, mismanaged or neglected over time, and then that can change. The soil profile can become richer, and then the grasses change, the sward composition changes, and it gets softer, or gorse grows and nitrifies the soil, and then it changes. But if you left the most textbook links golf course in the world to change, does that mean it's no longer a links course in 30 years' time?
I have my own views on links.
Well, tell them, please.
I think for it to be a links, it's basically, there's only two things. There's only two requirements. It's got to be mostly fescue.
Okay.
And also, you need to be able to play it in the dead of winter, in the wet, and not have to clean your shoes.
Okay, so is Cow Club in California, is that a links course?
It must be. If you don't have to clean your shoes after a wet day. Okay. If you can just walk off the golf course and be like, oh no, these shoes are fine.
There we go. Okay, well, I'm glad that we cleared it up.
But that's what I mean. Mine's a much more simplistic version. But then again, I'm not as well versed in links as you. And with all that being said, I've given you a task to do an Eclectic 18, which you've been very kind to do. But there were some parameters we put around it because you've done all these wonderful links courses. And if I said do your Eclectic 18, not that you would do it, but there's a possibility that you would just rattle off 18 worldies that everyone knows are really good. Because worldies are worldies, aren't they?
Yeah. So many... A question I always get is, well, what's your favourite course? And it's like, well, my favourite course is the same as most people's favourite course. It's like, I don't know, Dornoch or Muirfield or the Old Course, or in England it would be Hoylake or Royal St George's or Brancaster or... Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's not going to be a scoop. These courses are the best courses because they're the best courses.
Yeah.
However, that being said, the thing that the tour has given me is an appreciation for the courses that perhaps some people have never heard of, and certainly that they'd never go and visit. A tourist to Britain, I'm just looking down the list I put together. I don't know how many of these courses anyone would actually go and play, but they're missing out. And I know that that's a recurring theme of some of the Eclectic 18s that you've done to date. Like the courses that fly under the radar, because a course that's ranked 150th in Britain compared to 50th, some of the holes on there will be just as good, but there just might not be as many of them.
Did you go to any golf courses on your trip that genuinely didn't have any good holes? And you don't have to name them. Because I think there's like, Tom Coyne said it early on, mega early on, in a few years back on this podcast, but he said golf courses like pizza. It's just... There's always something good there.
Yeah, I think that's true. I'm really having to rack my brain to think of no redeeming features. I think, I would say every course, maybe 2 or 3 out of 225, which isn't bad.
Like 1%.
But really, no. Even the courses where you start out and you think, God, what are we doing here? There'll be a point where it's like, oh, wow, that's what we're doing here. That's really, what a great hole. And I'm so glad that I came out just even to see that one hole or that little stretch or that little run. Because if you're playing golf by the sea, for me, I always love that golden hour at the end of the day when the sun's coming down. And
you're a big fan of golden hour, aren't you?
Well,
because those of you who don't know, Sam also does very good photography and videography, and it's always at golden hour. I'm sure you just stay places until the sun comes out.
The problem is, I think with links courses especially, is it's the ground. This is interesting, and if you're not doing it at the right time of the day, it just gets lost in the picture.
It just looks flat.
Like if you take a picture in the middle of the day or on a cloudy day of a links course, what are you looking at? You can't see the topography, and that's why most of my photos I try and get them at
and it looks really cool,
and it looks really cool,
which is why you do it. But right, we need to get into this because we've been really putting it off. We're 24 minutes into the pod and we've literally not started, but there's plenty to talk about. So, how do you want to do it? Do you want to go through it hole by hole, or do you want to pick certain?
Up to you.
We just like to keep it really free and easy here.
Okay, well, should we go through hole by hole? There's a few where
we can talk through it hole by hole, because you've got some. The criteria was you're Eclectic 18, and ideally I didn't want anything that was in the top 100 in GB&I.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of keep out of that, which you've done. I've only played 3 golf courses on this list.
Oh, really?
Which I think is because I don't travel as much as you, but also you've picked some ones that are quite hard to get to.
Obscure places as well.
But I have played number 1, Brora.
Good. And you birdied it, I hear.
I did birdie. I told you off air. Yeah, I birdied it. I missed the green, chipped in, so it's not like I stiffed.
But it's a cool hole, shot. Isn't it? Like,
it is
not
cool
a long hole.
Why did you pick number 1 at Brora?
I like Brora. A recurring theme through this list is there's a lot of short par 4s, because I think there's also some very long par 4s. There's one that's 495 yards, but I think they're just interesting because there is the opportunity for a range of scores to be had and a range of ways to play the hole. And I don't think, don't get me wrong, I think if I had my CDP hat on and we were doing a golf course, I wouldn't make a course like this. I wouldn't make a course where every single par 4 was like 300 yards because it would be ridiculous. You've got to have...
Why would it be ridiculous though? It's what we all want to play.
Well, maybe that's true. Maybe there'll be a time when there are courses
I mean,
out there
I know
where
you're right. You
everything's
can't
a half par
because you'd get
hole.
murdered. But it's what we all like to play. Everyone likes their ego stroked. If you can go around in under your handicap, even if the standard scratch is like 6 shots lower than it should be, who cares?
Well, people just want to have fun playing golf, don't they?
They do.
And if you can walk off something and you've made a birdie and your buddy's made a double bogey and you can laugh at them, that's great. But if you're both playing a 450-yard par 4, well, the chances are you're both going to make a bogey. And which is more interesting? Which speaks to the spirit of golf more? And I would say the holes are sort of smack in the middle of, oh, I should be making a 3 here, but I've actually made a 5 because I've tried to drive the green, and that was not the thing to do. The thing to do was play a 4-iron over there and then run the ball in. And that's what you can do on the first at Brora. I think it's 288 yards maybe. And it's just brilliant land. You've travelled all the way up to...
It's a cool start on the coast as well, because you tee up right on the coastline, and it's pretty much that, and I think just the far end, the par 3 at the far end, which is probably 8, 9, 10, something around there. Pretty much the closest points you get to the sea. That first tee box, and...
Yeah, that's true. It's just kind of a step inland, isn't it, for the rest? I say inland, it's only like 40, 50 yards. But... it's like the beaches. If you go for the green and flare one out right, like the beach is in play.
You're wet.
But it's great topography. I don't think there are any bunkers on the hole, and the green is just sort of set into this shelf, almost in a bit of a punch bowl thing. So you can't see it from the tee, but you know where you're going, and you can go for it. But good luck if your first shot of the day is like 290-yard drive with crosswind and everything else. But it doesn't mean if you play it in the conservative way that it's a boring hole. It's still a great, you're still playing, because
it wants to be approached kind of from the left, doesn't it? You have to kind of go down the left on one. That's where it wants you to come in from. And
Brora's like that. There are places where you do want to. It's not a straight down the middle golf course. It's the pin's on the left there, so I'm going to hit it down the right. And sometimes you're best off hitting it into the rough and letting it release up than you are being in the middle of the fairway. So I love those kind of golf courses, and I love the Highlands. So Brora had to be on my list. Yeah,
Brora's very good. Now we're going to go on to a stretch that I don't know much about. Traigh.
Yeah, well said. So Traigh is a 9-hole course. It is near Maleg. So when the Hogwarts Express goes over that bridge, the curved bridge, the Glenfinnan
Now
Viaduct.
Sam knows I'm a big Harry Potter fan, so this is exciting me.
That's just down the road from there.
Oh, is it?
So Traigh is this. It could be. There's another course on here that will challenge it for most beautiful setting, but Traigh has got to be up there. And the second hole, you play up the hill, and then the second hole, officially it's a par 5, but yardage-wise, it's not a par 5. It's called Spine Cop, and as a Liverpool fan, it's funny how many holes are called Spine Cop, named for the battle very much rather than the stand at Anfield, but never mind. The second hole, you can either play on the right-hand side with out of bounds right, playing to this island in the sky, so it's a bit of fairway, effectively, or you can play the long road, the low road, round to the left, which is probably over twice the distance than taking the shortcut. Really? So it's just you stand on there and it's like, oh, how brave am I feeling? Can I hit the driver or the 3-wood or whatever over there with death surrounding it, and if I don't get it right then I'm absolutely buggered? Or do I go for the straightforward 5, probably because it's not a long hole, you still may be able to make a 4, but it's just that sort of spirit of adventure in one of the most beautiful settings, and I thought more people should know about Traigh, so I'll put it on my list.
Did you find on your travels that like when you got risk reward holes that you took the risk because like I'm only here once, or did you play conservatively most of the time?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to. It doesn't mean you can't appreciate the other route. You know, I think as the tour develops, and I was getting more and more into the architecture as a career as well as a thing anyway, as well as just a passion. It was important to, look at the course properly rather than just play it with the blinkers on and, oh, it's a sunny day and I played well, therefore I like it. That's not what it's about.
Yeah, which I think is so easy to do.
Oh, of course it is.
It's so hard to disassociate how you played with the course. Like, I think that's a really hard skill.
Maybe it's because I played so many, but now I can't remember how I played at places. I can remember the holes.
Yeah.
And I can I can think about the different routes, but I can't actually remember, generally speaking, whether I shot a 72 round. So I don't care about that. It's the whole point of going somewhere is to experience the place, not to shoot a number. You can just do that anywhere.
The third hole you've chosen is a hole that you now work very closely with.
Yeah.
Oh, which I think is on the northwest coast of England, is arguably the strongest stretch of golf courses anywhere in England, I would say.
Oh, in England, yeah. It's like well, coast-wise, it's here or Kent, but we've got more in the northwest than they do in Kent.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just we're sat here in Hoylake. You've obviously got the three that have the open up here: Lytham, Hoylake, Birkdale, Southport, and Ainsdale, West Lancs.
Oh, you remember
Wallasey.
West Lancs this time.
I don't remember West Lancs this time. Wallasey.
Formby ladies.
It's just, there's so many good courses up here. And Wallasey, I think, is one that probably doesn't get the recognition it deserves.
Like, Wallasey should be in top 100 GB&I, or close to. It's really interesting. Yes, they're a client of ours at CDP, which you alluded to. But all that's allowed me to do, even though it's a course that's only 15 minutes away, and I've played it since I was a kid. So it's a course I already knew well, but the more time I've spent there, looking at the routing, how it's evolved, the land that they have, the more I've appreciated just how, just how good some of the good stuff is, and just how much potential the course has as well. So it's exciting. There were a few holes that I would have included in here if, obviously the whole joy of the Eclectic 18 exercises, it's tricky to get them all in. So the third I did include. 11 I would have definitely included if I had space for it. The 18th as well is another amazing hole, probably one of the great finishing holes in links golf, over the most rambunctious links land to the
what a wonderful word, to
the clubhouse, like just behind the green. It's brilliant. But I went for the third, which is only a mid-length par 4, but plays through this channel. And the green is so cool. It has this, it's almost like a V-shaped approach. So if you're coming in with anything more than a shortish iron, it's actually, and it's firm, it just kicks one way or the other and it deflects. And actually there's a bank behind the green, and if you're smart, you can actually take more club and let it run up and hopefully feed back down rather than get deflected at the front. And it's just a really cool green that uses the landscape it sits in rather than, I don't know, a load of bunkers just to make it arbitrarily difficult.
Do you find on your travels, seeing all these courses, that a green kind of make or breaks the hole? Because obviously it needs to be interesting to get to the green, but if the green is either benign and you're like, don't really like that hole, or the greens can really elevate the hole, do you find that that's important or not? Am I just talking rubbish?
No, it's definitely. I think a great green can save an average hole.
Yeah.
And I think for it to be a world class hole, it needs to have everything. You can't have a 10 out of 10.
But likewise, I think like a bad green can ruin a good hole.
Yeah. But what's a bad green?
I don't know.
A
Like,
flat
if you've
green?
got loads of, well,
Because
I
I
don't
wouldn't
know.
say a flat green is a bad green. Like,
but I think if you've got loads of interest and intrigue, and suddenly you've got like, I mean, am I just talking nonsense? I don't know.
I'd rather
You-
have a flattish green
you
than
suddenly got-
over-engineered, massively.
Yeah, I mean, you don't, no offense to the
Hilly green.
castle. You don't want all your
Mm.
greens to be like the castle, do you? So that's okay. That could be an example of bad everyday greens. Is like once they're, you can get yourself in a position that like you just can't two-putt because it's so wildly undulating.
Yeah, but then there are courses out there where if they're the appropriate speed of green, like some of this isn't links, but one of the best sets of greens I've ever played was Passatempo, and if you played, well, they're changing them because they want them to be whatever on the stimp meter, and they are too hilly to play. Like some of those putts that you'd have if you're above the hole on some of those greens, like you have zero chance.
Yeah,
But they're amazing
curse of
greens
the fast
that
green,
make
that though, isn't it?
that make the holes. But I do, of course, I completely get what you mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course.
I suppose there aren't bad greens. They're uninteresting greens, and there are interesting greens. I think that's
there are certainly better greens out there.
Kilspindie 4,
Yeah,
great golf hole.
yeah. I don't think we need to.
Kilspindie's one of those clubs that had a lot of coverage in the last 5-6 years. Plays down onto the sort of peninsula.
Yeah, and the green is just sort of on that little tongue, isn't it? Out
Yeah.
into the. It's just beautiful. One
Right's
of those.
dead, long dead.
You want to
Yeah.
be down the right so that you have a better angle into the green, but everyone goes out left because you're scared of going in
Yeah.
onto the beach, and then you're playing a bit across the neck. So it's just a great strategic hole,
Boundary hole.
boundary hole. There's this. It's not a bunker. It's like a crater in the middle of the fairway, isn't there?
Mm.
And it's a great hole.
It's kind of the fairway's leveled as well, isn't it? Kind of the right half is lower than the left half, and there's like a bank that kind of levels up like that, and it's just a great.
I was tempted to put in the fourth hole at Irvine Bogside, over in Ayrshire, but I went for Kilspindie. But honourable mention to that, which is that's really cool. It's like railway immediately alongside the green, and again short hole. You could drive the green, but if you did that, you could hit a train that's on its way to neighbouring Troon. You know, it's one of those, and being pin high right is the scariest pitch up this hill.
Really?
With the railway beyond that's a really cool hole. But I thought Kilspindie maybe just edged it for me.
Now, since doing the Eclectic 18, I have kind of revisited mine since and had a little look at it. And number 5 that you've picked is in my new one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
I mean, if I was going to get weird about it, and ignore the obvious ones. Yeah, Isle of Purbeck.
Which isn't a links course, but I wanted it anyway because I did.
Do you not think it's a links?
No, it's much too, and it's firm and it's bouncy and you can kind of see the sea or pool, but no, but that doesn't mean that it's not a really good course, and it certainly doesn't mean that the fifth hole there isn't absolutely
It's wonderful,
fabulous.
isn't it? It's an absolutely wonderful golf hole, that one. Big sort of sweeping dogleg right, where you're elevated by many, many feet, 20, 30, 40, I don't know my feet, but huge elevation from tee to green, and a kind of infinity green that drops off a cliff.
Yeah, and almost a bit of a cape, so you're playing, it sweeps around to the right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So how many yards are you, how far right, how much are you chewing off?
It's just a great golf hole,
It's-
isn't it? And you can play it many, many ways.
Yeah.
It's not long, is it? I mean, could you, if you were feeling
think
really, really
so.
brave, could you kind of take the line of the green? I'm not sure.
I don't know actually. I should have had a
Um,
look.
An honourable mention
Formby
to one
Ladies.
of my favourite golf courses.
Yeah, so Formby Ladies and the men's course at Formby, they're on some amazing land. I would make I think actually loads of people would make a case that one of the best holes of the 36 is the 5th hole, which is just this amazing little par 3, tiny green, sort
Perched
of
up on
cut
the hill.
into the side of a hill. It's just beautiful, and I only
Only a
played
short
Formby
hole?
Ladies. Oh, yeah,
Like 135, 140, something like that.
max, I think, yeah. But I hadn't played Formby Ladies up until a year or so ago, and I've been playing Formby since I was, 13, and I've always seen, because it's one of the few holes that you see
That's
of
right,
the
yeah.
ladies course from the quote unquote main course. I've always go, wow, how good's that? And finally playing it this year, it can confirm.
It's got
Confirmed
some
pure.
great golf holes. There's another part. All the par 3s at Formby Ladies are just mind blowing.
Yeah.
I think there's one around the turn 10, 11, 12, something around that.
Oh, the one down the
Yeah.
into the bowl.
Yeah.
It's got some great holes, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And again, shows the value of shorter courses. This is fun to play.
That you can get around quickly.
Absolutely,
We're going island hopping. Are we?
we are.
Shiskine.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it?
I think so. How else could
Shiskine?
you say it?
Well, Eric Adams' land called it Shiskine.
Oh, okay.
And he'd been there and I hadn't, so I just kind of went with it.
Well,
I'm going to call it Shiskine.
I'm going to call it Shiskine.
Short 4.
Yeah, another short 4.
Shock.
Could have had the 5th hole, which is a long par 3 that runs along this sort of ridge downhill. With it's if you land the ball short, again, it sort of kicks either way. Could have had the 4th hole, which plays from this massively high down to a green with like the most stunning backdrop of the of Kintyre. Could have had the 3rd hole playing up it, the Crow's Nest, I think it's called. There's so many amazing holes at Shiskine. It's just one of the coolest places that we went on the
Really?
tour. And it's
Do you think the islands are actually worth...
yeah, the islands.
Because it seems like such a hassle.
No, I think if you're doing this as like a lads golf trip, it is too much hassle. But if you actually went for really nice driving holiday and you took Sarah and you went round and you said, right, we're going to stay in some really nice places and I'm going to sneak the clubs in the back of the car and maybe a couple of mornings go out early doors. Well, it's amazing. Like you could drive to Ayrshire, get the ferry across to Arran, play Shiskine, get the ferry across to Campbelltown, go and explore around there. Golf course wise, you could play Carradale, this cool little 9-holer on the way down the Kintyre Peninsula. Play Dunavity at the bottom, down the long winding road that Paul McCartney wrote about. That's where he had his...
Is that right?
Mull of Kintyre, that's where he had his place down there. And it's, obviously Jim Hartzell talks a lot about Dunavity, and rightly so. It's
You Scousers love the Beatles, don't you?
well, you got to cling to the local celebrities. But there's a stretch in the middle of Dunavity from about the 4th to, I don't know, get this wrong, 15, 16. That's just like the most bonkers golf in the world. Like holes crossing over, blind, just glorious golf.
Golf how it should be.
Yeah, and then you've got Machrihanish and get the ferry to the Macri, go further up and go and visit Traigh and go to the Outer Hebrides, which is where I had hole number 7. Askernish. That's really good as well.
Is that really good?
Yeah.
Good. Well, we can move on then. We'll move away from the islands.
Okay.
Apart from that, let's quickly, but Askernish is the only long 4. Why have you gone for such a long 4?
Oh, it's not the yardage. It's par 5, really, isn't it? It's 495.
Yeah.
But so you play the first 5-6 holes at Askernish, and they're really nice holes. But then you get to, I think it's the 7th tee, where it's like, oh, wow.
This is where it's at.
Oh my God. This
Starts to get good.
Yeah, it's just bonkers. The land from 7 to, let's say 16, 17 is just otherworldly.
That's the course has recently been refound, so to speak.
Yeah, so the story is there was an old Tom course there, and then I think it sort of was lost or
Went into disrepair.
stopped maintained. Yeah, and they had another golf course that was on the farmland nearby, and they were saying, "Oh, you know, this is an old Tom course," and might be completely wrong. I think it was Gordon Irvine. Forgive me if I'm completely wrong there, but someone was there and they said, you know, "Guys, this isn't an old Tom course. Old Tom wouldn't have built this, but he might have built a golf course over there in that ridiculous links land. Let's go and have a little rummage around." So that's what they did, and I think Ebert and Doak and a few other people sort of did as a bit of a goodwill thing, and yeah, a bit of golf archaeology, you know, finding the old green sites, and it's an amazing place, and it's a bit of a pilgrimage to get there because it's not easy to get to.
Is that the hardest of all the island ones to get to?
Of the island ones I've included, yeah. The hardest course that I should have put it in. I should have put Wallasey in.
Yeah. Now a few people have talked to us about this place, Wallasey.
Oh man.
I mean, it's not too late. You need to find a place for it, but
you'd put the 17th, but I like. We'll see.
We'll
have
think
a little
about
think while we're going.
We can maybe do an honourable mention at the end.
But that's the hardest place because
that's in the Outer Hebrides, is it?
Well, Askernish is in the Outer Hebrides, South Uist, but Wallasey is in the Shetland Isles.
That's right. Yeah.
And to get to the Shetland Isles, you either fly, which is the sensible thing to do, but then, you know, it's the Shetland Isles are big when you get there. We obviously wanted the van there, so from I can't remember the port, just on the it's near Traigh on the very north coast. It's like 2 and a bit hours to Orkney, and then from Orkney it's like 10 hours on a ferry to it's so far to Shetland. And then when you
is it closer to like?
Yeah, I think it's closer
to Iceland than it is to Greenland or something like that.
Yeah, because I think it was like given to Britain for
as
a dowry from Norwegian. I don't know, but it's the most spectacular place. Like,
is it?
It's amazing there. And so the first thing we did was we got there and we're like, oh, okay, well, let's drive all the way to the top, basically, because we're.
How big is it? How long does it take to drive to the top?
A few hours.
Okay.
And then you've got to get more ferries along the way. Just little ferries, like 20 minutes or 10 minutes to get over to the next island.
Is that because they're little islands or because
it's like
they're
a little archipelago of islands?
Good word again.
Yeah, well, that's what...
Same
as the Outer Hebrides. The Outer Hebrides is like 6 little islands, and you've got to get ferries and bridges and stuff. So we got all the way up to the Muckleflugger Lighthouse. You get all the way to the top. It's 60 degrees north.
Is it cold up there?
Well, no, it still feels like Scotland. You know, it's not like you get there and it's snowing everywhere. It's if you go in the summer, it can be warm. If you go in the winter, it can be cold. But you get all the way to the top. I think the most northerly point of the British Isles is this tiny little rock, basically called Outstack. But next to it, there's this lighthouse called Muckleflugger, and it took 2 hours to get from the most northerly point that we could drive to walk then to this the most northerly point that we could walk to. And there's this lighthouse, and it's a lighthouse that, you know, the Stevenson family who built like all the lighthouses in Scotland, like the famous one at Turnberry. And you're just like, how the hell did they build that there? It's just on this rock in the middle of absolute nowhere. It's amazing. But we've completely digressed. But Wallasey is the most northerly course, and there were a few holes there that could have been included, but I forgot.
So from the northerly course to one that's really, really south.
Nice. Hayling
Golf Club, which that's a Tom Simpson design, isn't it, Hayling?
It is Tom Simpson. That's correct.
Lots of people say very good things about Hayling, and again, probably one that's starting to get more coverage.
And rightly so. There's not much links golf on the south coast. Like, obviously, you've got Rye. In fact, I think I've included most of the links courses on the south coast, weirdly. But we'll come to them. Hayling's really good. I love Tom Simpson, love links courses. Every time Tom Simpson does a links course, it's going to be good. Hayling is no exception. The 8th is this really cool hole. It's kind of, the fairway is in 2 sections, and you can go to the right and get a better angle, or you can go further to the left and you're closer but you get a slightly worse angle. It's just a great hole, and I really wanted to include Hayling.
And to round off our 9, we've got Durness. Another, is that 9 hole? 9
holes.
Yeah.
But you can
And it's on the North Coast 500?
Yes.
Question mark.
It is the most northwesterly course on the mainland.
Okay.
It's got one greenkeeper, Ali Morrison, who is force of nature, maintaining that place in, must be one of the windiest spots in the entire country. I don't know how many hours of daylight they get in the summer, but it's a lot more than they get in the winter when they have, it is very north. So you'd go, if you're ever in Dornoch, listener, and you want to have your jaw dropped, just drive to Durness. It's a couple of hours drive, but it's entirely worth it. Like, the drive is epic. You get halfway across, depends which way you go, but if you went around the North Coast 500 and you went all the way up to sort of John O'Groats Way, past Wick, past Ray, 2 nice courses, and you went along the road at the top, it's pretty flat, it's farms, and you can see Orkney over in the distance, and then you get about 3/4 of the way across going east to west, and then you just like, holy shit, it just goes from fields to mountains and lochs, and it's like you've gone to another country or another world. It's really amazing. And Durness is the course there, only has 9 holes. I wish it had 72 holes there because there's so much land. Again, it's not really a links course, it's probably more land or something. It's on top of a cliff, but don't care. The 9th is 200 and something odd yards, playing over the bay, one of the most jaw-dropping par 3s anywhere.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, is it a links course? Don't care. I enjoyed it. And I think that's it, isn't it? Like, if you enjoy it, who cares?
Like, if I couldn't include Durness on my list because you'd argue it's not a links course, well, then, we'll be very sad.
Okay, that rounds off the front 9, and a very interesting front 9, sort of all around the country, but I suppose that's what's going to happen when you...
I tried to, generally around the coast.
The scale to 10. I can't read your writing.
Mullion.
Mullion
is the most, I think it's the most southerly course on the mainland. Obviously, Royal Jersey is the most southerly, but that's in the Channel Isles. Mullion is really cool.
Got to be honest.
You never heard of Mullion?
No.
You haven't lived. It's just nice. Again, same thing. Not really sure it's links course, but yeah, it's really nice. The 10th is famous. Plays downhill, left to right, sweeping around this massive sort of crater in front of the green. Just a gorgeous, gorgeous place to play golf. In fact,
is it in Cornwall?
Yes.
Yeah.
There are some courses in Cornwall that are really good. Obviously, people know about St Enodoc and Trevose and some of the bigger names, Perranporth we've already mentioned. But there's like West Cornwall, Bude. Is Bude in Cornwall? Not sure. But there are some, obviously Mullion, there are some really, really lovely courses down there. And again, probably not going there on a golfing trip, but people will find themselves in that area on a family trip, I'm sure. Well worth seeking some of those places out. They're really nice.
I've never heard of it. I don't know why I've not heard of it. There's not a whole ton of
it's not
popular golf in Cornwall, is there? Or Devon even. There's not.
Well, yeah. I mean, generally they're on the north coast of the sort of leg there, the Cornwall and Devon leg. That you've got Perranporth, Trevose, St Enodoc, Burnham and Barrow, Saunton, Royal North Devon. I mean, some of them are quite well known, Tom.
Yeah. Some of them are. Royal North Devon. I rescind that. Prestwick, but obviously we can't go for Prestwick because it's in the top 100. We're going with Prestwick St Nick's.
Did you play there?
No, I went up there. When I was up there, I was kind of trying to get on it, but they couldn't fit me on the time scale that I had, so I played Western Gales instead. But no, I didn't go to Prestwich and Nicks, and I really wanted to. And it is on the hit list.
Yeah.
But no, not played it.
Okay. Really cool. There's not many par 5s there. The 11th is one of the par 5s. I thought I should try and have a few par 5s. Yeah, another really good half par kind of hole. Beautiful. I mean, you should go and play it. Everyone should play Prestwich St Nicholas. The second courses, I say second, in Ayrshire, but the likes of Prestwich St Nick's, Irvine Bogside, which I've mentioned already, West Kilbride. There's some really, really good courses that are just under the, everyone will go there and play Turnberry, Troon, Prestwich, Western Gales. Glasgow Gales is another very good example. Yeah, absolutely.
There's so much good golf up there.
Ayrshire has so much good golf. It's crazy.
And even I think, like some of the second course, like, I've heard lots of good stuff about Robert the Bruce.
Yeah. There's a couple of holes on top of the hill at the Robert the Bruce course at Turnberry, second course at Turnberry, which just, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And you've got the same views of the lighthouse that I mentioned just before, that you get on the Elsa course. I think if most people, when they go to Turnberry, they're probably paying a fair bit of money to play the Elsa course anyway. And I think they do a few deals where you can stay on site and get around on that and around on the Robert the Bruce course. Yeah, they should do that. If they're going to, if you're going to do it, you should play that course.
Yeah, not to miss. Southern S, which is again really hard to get to, but I suppose a lot of these things because it's kind of near Silloth, but really far away.
Southern S isn't hard to get to. It's so it's just west of Dumfries. So yeah, it's quite right. It's on the opposite side of the Solway Firth as Silloth. However, if you're driving from anywhere in England to anywhere in Scotland, you're basically driving past it.
Okay.
I'd say look at it like that. If you were just going to Southern S, it's quite a long way away. But like from here in the northwest of England to say Fife or East Lothian or Carnoustie kind of area, it's pretty much halfway, and it's a great way to break up the journey. And you get to cross the Scottish border, get to sort of Gretna Green kind of area, turn left,
dodge all the
along there
marriages
for an hour or so, really nice drive, and then play one of the most beautiful, understated, classy links courses you'll find anywhere. It's a Philip Mackenzie Ross course. I think it was opened in about 1947, so it's one of the newest, quote unquote, links courses ever built in Scotland. Yeah, so up until the likes of, like, you can make a case that Kings Barnes and Castle Stewart, they weren't really built on links land. So what course has been built on links land? So you've got Mac Dunes and Trump's Place up in Aberdeen. But apart from those, I'd say I think Southern S was probably the last links course to have been built before those. Because after 47, they weren't building many links courses on Sussex land, and Mackenzie Ross, famous for Turnberry, famous for Castletown, of course I've included as well. He worked with Tom Simpson. He was a great proper strategic architect, and Southern S is belter. And the 12th, big sweeping left to right dog there, goes down to a green that's perched on the water again. It's a sensational hole.
13, you've got the 7th oldest golf course in the world. I really don't like. I don't like that they trade off that so much. That's their Instagram handle, isn't it? 7th oldest golf course in the world.
It's a cool feature.
It is cool.
I agree. It's a really good golf course. I'd rather people talked about the fact that it's a really good golf course.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I think sometimes open venues can trade off being an open venue when they all really do stand up on their own 2 feet. It's like they're just really good golf courses, like really, really good golf courses. Just own that.
Yeah.
But Fraserburgh, tell me about it.
Fraserburgh there's 2 courses there. I think it's called Corby Hill, the main course. You sort of play over the hill, and then some beautiful holes. 13 is so cool. It's interesting. The landscape sort of goes in 3 acts. So you have slightly more conventional links land to start with, playing on the hill, but very much linksy. 13 it's almost like a mogul field, I'd describe it. It's like these tiny little hills. Well, I'd say tiny. They're a couple of meters high,
human-sized mounds.
Yeah, pretty conventionally shaped. If you were drawing a hill, if you asked a kid to draw a hill, they'd probably draw hills that look like these, and they're irregularly spaced around. And the 13th kind of plays through it. I think Gil Hance built a hole at the Olympic course in, I don't know where it was. I should know this, but it was modelled apparently off the 13th hole.
The one in
Fraserburgh.
Rio?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
And it's just really cool hole. It's one of those where you've got to kind of be in a certain place to be able to see through the mounds that guard the green in order to see it. Otherwise, it's blind. And it's, again, just a really interesting and pretty unique piece of ground. And it's a really cool place. And then you move on to further into the back 9, and you could be at Royal Aberdeen or somewhere. You're playing through this sort of valley, and it's glorious. But the green fee at Fraserburgh is, I don't know off the top of my head, it isn't much.
It's not breaking the bank.
No, it's like it's closer to £0 than £100. Put it that way.
Yeah,
which is ridiculous.
But that's the best thing about your Eclectic 18. I reckon you could go through here, and I dare say, I don't think there's anything on here that's going to be over £100.
No,
maybe 1.
Yeah, maybe 2 max. No, you're right. It's very affordable.
Yeah, fairly affordable golf
Bang
courses.
for your buck, I think.
This is up there.
It's up there.
As the great architect you are, you've obviously been heavily inspired by the old course. 2 3s, 2 5s is what you've gone through. And
good spots.
We've got your last 3 at Great Yarmouth.
Yes. The last par 3 I included, indeed, at Great Yarmouth and Caister. Great Yarmouth and Caister is a pretty old club. It's one of the 10 oldest in England, I think. Funny story. So, Great Yarmouth and Caister, like Musselburgh, plays generally inside a racetrack. And
Musselburgh's outside a racetrack, but
yeah, sorry, but is it?
No, it isn't. It's inside.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
I believed you then.
I know. I'd sold you. I'd sold you down the river.
Hit one shot over.
Just say confidence, Sam. You'll get away with it. I was thinking the racetrack's on the outside, and then I was just thinking the opposite thing. That's going to stay in.
Yeah, definitely keeping that in. So, like Musselburgh, Great Yarmouth and Caister generally plays inside a racetrack. And is
that only 9 holes as well, or is it?
No, it's 18 holes.
Oh, okay.
There's a couple of holes that it breaks out of the racetrack and then comes back in again. But I think we'd been down in Suffolk, and the east coast to where I live is a nightmare to drive across. Like,
yeah.
It's the British UK,
getting across to the east coast in general, it's almost like the road structure was never designed for anyone to go there.
No, it goes north. Like driving north south, easy. Driving east west, vice versa, is nigh on impossible. Takes hours.
It's like the motorway people just completely forgot that people would want to do that.
Exactly, it's bonkers. So driving from here to the east coast takes so long. So we'd been working our way up the east coast, and I think I'd done like Aldborough and Felixstowe Ferry and some of those others on the Suffolk side, working way north. And I thought, we can do Great Yarmouth and Caister, and then come back home for that stint of the journey. So I'd been calling Great Yarmouth and Case Service, no answer, and called the next day, no answer, called the next day, and we had to go then to drive there, and it was a couple of hours drive, and there was still no answer. I was like, what's going on? Oh, bugger it, we'll just drive there and it'll be fine. So I drove 2 hours from previous place to Great Yarmouth and Caister, got there and pulled up on this little drive down to the golf course, and half a dozen horses ran past me at about 80 miles an hour, or however fast horses run, not 80 miles an hour. And I realised,
really quick for a horse.
That's why they weren't answering the phone. There's a race meet on this week and it's close. So we drove 2 hours there and then had to drive 6 hours or whatever it is to get across country. It took me 2 goes before I finally got there.
So when the horse racing's on, you can't play it?
No, you can't play it. Because you have to hit shots across the racetrack.
Oh, okay.
There's a few holes that break out.
How often do they meet?
I don't know, but they met on that
day.
Which is quite annoying.
But was it worth it when you went back to it?
Yeah, it's really cool. Like that sort of East Coast has there's quite a few bunkers where they have sleepers.
In sleeper face bunkers and stuff,
which you don't see in generally in many other parts of the country, and I think they're really cool. You know, it's
cool.
Nice. And Great Yarmouth and Case has some really cool ones. It's got some beautiful undulating land. Don't have big budgets. You know, don't expect Augusta greens or fairways that look like you could put on them. But if you are ever in that part of the world, I absolutely recommend you go and play that really beautiful golf course.
I think the East Coast is a fairly underrepresented part of golf.
Categorically.
I don't think many people would ever think about going across to the East Coast to play golf. I don't know.
Or Northeast Coast, like Northumbria.
Yeah. 100% with Northumbria. There's some really good golf up there.
Yeah. Like Seaton, Carew, Goswick. There's loads that.
Again, not a links course, but that one Almouth Village that I think Sam and I played and you've played, and what a wonderful golf course Almouth Village is.
Founded in 1869, one of the oldest in
Is that
England.
right?
Yeah, same year as Hoylake. That's Almouth Golf Club, which moved to the place just next door, but Almouth Village was the original.
That's another one, for example, that's like on the sea, but not a links.
Yeah, there's plenty of them, because if you've got to have the mix of sand, then not everywhere has sandy things. That's why I think links courses generally come in pockets. Like you've got Kent, you've got the northwest of England, you've got Fife, and you've got East Lothian, and it's just so happens that there's loads of sandy ground there together, and it's like a geological feature that it happened to collect there. So they do tend to pool together.
Yeah, they're I never really thought about it like that. They do tend to come in clusters. Seascale.
Yeah.
What's that clustered next to?
It's just down the road. Well, I say just down the road. Silloth would be the nearest course that people would know.
Yeah.
Again, it's like Lake District West. So I don't think many people go to the Lake District for the coast. But if you did, there's at the bottom end, on the south end of it, there's Furness, which is in Barron Furness. Again, really old golf course. Further up, about 2/3 of the way up, is Seascale. And Seascale is really, really good, really underrated. No one really goes there. They should. It's right next door to Sellafield, the nuclear plant. So
all good golf courses are next to nuclear plants.
But I don't know whether that's a positive or a negative. It's certainly unique. Or I don't know. I don't know if it's unique, but it's. I didn't play any others next to any nuclear plants.
Well, Rye's next to one, isn't it?
Yes, but like this is right next door. Like
Rye, is it?
Like there's 2 holes where you go in and out, and there's like barbed wire fences around and like armed guards and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And it says, "Please don't fly your drone."
It's got Homer Simpson.
So I don't have too many drone shots of Seascale. But 15, I included 15. There's a few I could have put in. 15 has no business being on the golf course. Like, it's so hemmed in. You play basically over the 14th green, and then you basically shared fairway of 16, but it plays back towards the nuclear plant, which is I thought it was really cool because it's an amazing juxtaposition between like the beautiful links land with like the peak of industry behind. You know, you can't find a more industrial scene than the nuclear plant, and it is really, really cool, and it's a great hole. But there are so many great holes in that little part of the golf course that I could have really picked any of them.
I think you haven't represented Wales enough in this.
No, I was aware of that.
Do you think Wales is just lacking the land that it needs?
Don't know whether it's a land. Like, next door to Harlech, you could build another golf course that would be top 20 in the country. Like, those sand dunes are amazing.
It just doesn't seem like anybody's interested in going to Wales. Like, as a Welshman, it really upsets me. You've got Porthcawl, which obviously is top 100 in the world.
I couldn't pick from Pennard. I couldn't pick from... I don't think I could pick from Royal St David's. So I was already limited. I could have had Southern Down, which we talked about. There's a great par 3, which I think is about the 5th, maybe. But I was already pretty covered on that part.
But we've gone for Abu Dhabi 16.
Yeah, which is just one of the GOAT holes.
Really?
Yeah. Have you not played Abu Dhabi?
No.
And you're giving me stick about not representing Wales.
I've done... You got to remember, I started golf really late. So I've been out of Wales now.
But you work in the golf media
industry.
landscape.
But I've been out of Wales. This year is the year that... the first year I've been out of Wales for longer than I was in it. So 18, I left at 18, and I'm now 37, so 19 years I've been out of Wales. And I started playing golf when I was 28, so I've never really had an opportunity to play golf in Wales.
Well, stop making excuses and go and play golf at Abu Dhabi.
Is Abu Dhabi, why is it a GOAT hole? That's a big statement. Is that your favourite hole on this list?
No, they're all really good.
Okay.
I'd take any of these holes, but it's the 16th at Abu Dhabi is really cool. It's just amazing land. You've got the railway line on the left, tiny green. Like, again, like many of the holes on this list, it is drivable, but don't drive it because you just... Well, maybe you should drive it, but it could be disaster. And that's what I like about it. You know, it's the thin line. There's so many of these holes. It's the thin line between triumph and disaster that you've got to tread. And
which I think is good
they're in
architecture,
beautiful places.
That's I think, like you say, like when you start making 450-yard par 4s, there's only so much you can do. You know, good architecture asks questions, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I think stimulates outcomes. You know, you want things to happen. You want things to happen at certain points of a round. You don't want every hole to be a par in professional golf or in amateur golf. Well, maybe most amateurs would like to par every hole.
I'd really like that.
The point is, you know, if you... Let's talk about pro golf. If every hole was you make a 4 or a 5 on it, well, who watches that tournament? You know, the reason the Masters is so great is they don't stick the pin on 16 in the place where it's really hard to get to. They did one year, but they put it at the bottom of the hill so that someone makes a hole in 1 and someone makes a 2, and the leaders are playing the harder holes while the chasing pack are playing the easier holes, and the leaderboard bunches up and everyone gets excited, and the Masters comes alive on the back nine on Sunday. And it's, if they made every hole as hard as each other, then the pack wouldn't bunch up, and it wouldn't be as exciting.
Start, and who cares?
So that's maybe slightly... The cynic might say that's slightly contrived, but you would say that it doesn't matter. The good point about architecture is you've got to give people, quote unquote, birdie opportunities, because otherwise the game is dull. You've got to handle the pressure well to birdie the easier holes. You know, an easy hole to birdie if it's a par 5, well, you still got to hit 2 really good shots to get there, 2 long shots to get there. But if you just make it so it's just that bit out of reach, then you may as well just stick everyone down 50 yards away from the green and say who can get up and down.
Our 17th hole, we've got Castletown. Again, not something I know a huge amount about.
Yeah, another Mackenzie Ross course, same as Southern S, and as I say, he was Turnberry. Castletown's really cool. It's, again, a course in a few different acts. You know, it starts slightly less linksy. There's a very linksy run around the turn. And then the last few holes are 16, 17, 18 at Castletown are classic cliff-top golf, but over rocky cliffs. And 17 is one of the most dramatic holes on this list. Full stop. Yeah, like you've got to drive it over crashing waves and rocks, and it's amazing setting. Quite a long carry. And then same with the approach, sort of play over broken ground. It's not over the waves again, but it's over sort of broken ground then to the green, and it's a stunning place. So it's on the Isle of Man. So you got to get you can get a ferry there, but I flew that one for a day, and it's so easy to get to.
Is it?
Oh, it's of all these courses, counterintuitively, Castletown is probably the easiest for anyone to get to, because if you can get to an airport, then the flight from Liverpool, and granted that is probably the closest place to fly from, but from Liverpool to Castletown, it's like 20-minute flight, and there's numerous planes per day, and the golf course then is 10 minutes from the airport. So you could go and play that golf course. Anyone in this country could go and play that golf course in a day, go back, have an amazing day out. Flights aren't crazy expensive. The green fee isn't crazy expensive. It's a really cool place to go. So, I would say when some of these places are many hours to drive to, Castletown is a tiny little hop from any airport.
I must do it.
Another one.
Bring me home, Sam. What are we finishing with?
Dawlish Warren. No.
You lost me again.
Blank face. Exeter kind of way.
Okay.
So back on the south coast, as I said, there are very few links course on the south coast. I think I've kind of got most of them.
Well, they're either in the top 100 or they're...
Well, no,
exactly.
Like on the south coast, because like Royal St George's and they have sort of around the
corner.
Around the corner. So on the south coast, you've got Rye. I guess Thistlestone. But apart from that, it's like Littlehampton has a few links holes.
Isle of Purbeck, which you're telling me is not a links.
Isle of Purbeck I've included, not links. Hayling, yes. Mullion, kind of. But Dawlish Warren, yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing. It's like this peninsula that goes into stretches off, only the golf course on it, maybe a nature reserve as well. So it's the most stunning scenery to start with. And the 18th, I included it because it is just the most insane hole. So I wanted to finish with a bit of insanity.
Why is it insane?
You drive, the clubhouse is on your right, and then you drive from sort of a tee that's set in the marsh. There's a bit of marshland that comes into the sandy peninsula. So you drive from that tee, clubhouse on your right, very much in play. And then your approach to this par 4 green. The green is set as you're playing the hole on the right of the road to the clubhouse, like the driveway thing. So there's a car park. Not many of the members park there for obvious reasons. But there's the car park, there's the clubhouse. There's both then in your way to the green. So you have to hit over the clubhouse. If you've gone too far right off the tee, you legit have to hit over the clubhouse. Someone could be driving along that thing, so you got to ideally wait for them. And if you went too far right on your approach, you could hit a platform because the railway line is right there. And the green is like in this slightly sunken, slightly sunken bowl. And it's just, I was playing it like, that can't be the green, can it? Is that the green? Yeah, it is the green. So in terms of a memorable finish. Dawlish Warren is up
Ludicrous.
there. Yeah, it is ludicrous, but that's the that's the
fun.
charm. That's the fun. If I just said, "Oh, yeah, it's a conventional, boring par 4," then I wouldn't put it on that list, would I?
No, I think there's not enough silly golf holes that exist now, because people that design golf courses don't leave silly golf holes in, but there's so much fun, like Painswick, or there's just some silly golf holes there that you just couldn't get away with now, but they're certainly still fun to play.
Yeah, there's some of the others. The other courses I would have included if I'd had more space. They are all fun places, because I think there are 2,000 odd golf courses in this country. If you want to go and play a course that is championship, or is a par 72 with 4 par 3s and 4 par 5s and is a good test of ball striking or whatever, then there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds out there. But if you want to go somewhere that you'll remember for the rest of your life, and you're like, oh my God, what about that? Do you remember that 9th hole at Durness playing over the thing? Or do you remember when you shanked it into the clubhouse at Dawlish Warren? Or do you remember when, those stories that occupy the edges of what convention, they're the things that I think are way more exciting. So that's what I think this list... Not entirely, they're proper holes on here. These are all great golf holes, but some of them are just the essence of fun golf for me.
Sam Cooper, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for appearing again on the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast, and thank you for having me in your home.
Well, thank you for having me on here.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Watch this.
I've broken him.